What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Jared Barnes Show. I am your host, Jared Barnes, and I got my co-host alongside of me. Tyler is here. Nate is here. Micah sadly could not join us today. Uh, it's midterms week here for us, so we're all pretty busy. So it kind of fit our schedule, so we're still doing it tonight. Good luck to Micah and all his midterms and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll just get right into the NFL headlines for this week. The biggest one of the week so far is the first head coach firing has happened. Matt Rhule has been fired by the Panthers. It happened very early Monday morning. Well, late Monday morning, not really early, like almost Monday afternoon. In 2020, he signed a 7-year, $62 million contract, and he only lasted 38 games in which he went 11-27. His starting quarterbacks during that time was Teddy Bridgewater, who started 15 games for him. Sam Darnold, second most starts for him at 11 games. Cam Newton and Baker Mayfield both started 5 games for him. And Philip P.J. Walker started 2 games for him. In his 38 games, he only had Christian McCaffrey healthy for 15 of those games in his 3 years of being a head coach. Now, Carolina, they've looked bad. They also have the second richest owner in the league who he has money, he's willing to spend it, and he's kind of already shown that he's not willing to waste any time. He wants to win, and he wants to win now. He'll pay whatever price he can to do that. And he said that the lack of effort was extremely minimal this past week, and he was kind of tired of seeing it, and that's what led to the firing. I think there was a little bit more than that, but Steve Wilks will serve as the interim head coach, and he will likely be without Baker, he hasn't officially been put on IR, but he's expected to be out 2 to 6 weeks, which means he's going to have to turn to P.J. Walker because Darnold's not healthy yet. The quarterback they drafted this offseason in Matt Corral had Liz Frank foot injury in the preseason, which led to him being put on IR for the entire season. So Steve Wilks has his work cut out for him. Carolina's in a bad spot, though. They don't look good. They don't look like they're going to be that competitive. They have good young offensive pieces in DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey. They also have Robbie Anderson, but they don't have an offensive line. I think it's time for them to unload and possibly restart the rebuild. Nate, with so many of those players, this is a team that doesn't look like they're going to win a bunch of games. Should they just fully jump in and just realize that tanking is going to be what they need to do? Because they need a quarterback, obviously. Should they tank for the first overall draft pick to land C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young?
I think so, absolutely. I mean, they don't have a great head coach at this present moment. They don't have a great quarterback. I mean, we haven't even seen Matt Corral play. I didn't even think he was the best quarterback in that draft class. So I'm not sure exactly what they'll do if they don't rebuild. I know Christian McCaffrey's value, even though he's injury prone, it's really high right now. So I would bank on that, trade on that. I would trade all your wide receivers. But I think it's time to go into a rebuild. After you fire your head coach for not performing, Baker Mayfield is Baker Mayfield's your starting quarterback. That's your best guy, and he's Baker Mayfield. So I would just say yes. Probably it's time to go into a rebuild. For the Cowboys, I think try to go after DJ Moore. So I know there's a lot of teams that want those pieces and probably will trade in a bunch, like Buffalo. I mean, we were talking earlier before the show that Buffalo wants Christian McCaffrey. That would be an unstoppable duo, And then there's a lot of other pieces that they can sell for draft picks and stuff. But I think it is time for go rebuild in Carolina.
Yeah, just saw the note that I have on my computer. I have an unmute in stream sticky note on my computer so that I remember to unmute myself. But they have some veteran, they have some good wide receivers. Terrence Marshall Jr. is another wide receiver on that roster. He's a young piece. I don't know if he's going to work out. I'm sure teams would like him. Dallas could be one of those teams that come calling. Green Bay should call right now for Robbie Anderson. A guy like Robbie Anderson on Green Bay would be extremely helpful to Aaron Rodgers. And I know bringing in wide receiver midway through the year is not necessarily ideal. Like, we saw it last year be successful with the Rams with Odell Beckham, but that's a very high-level, talented wide receiver that also has a good football IQ and was wanting to win at the time, and that's why he won out of the Browns. And his quarterback at that time, when you look back, was Baker Mayfield. And Odell Beckham Sr., Odell Beckham's dad, was right about Baker Mayfield. He's not good. Like, he's shown that he has been put around a roster that's not anywhere near as talented and he's been one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL this year. And it led to Matt Rhule being fired. But that's tough for Matt Rhule. He can make $438,000 every month for the next 4 years if he wanted to, based on the salary that's left that the Carolina Panthers have to pay him. He's living the dream right now. But Matt Rhule is going to be up for pretty much any coaching job in all of college football just because he has that reputation. So shout out Matt Rhule for getting even more millions of dollars probably in just a few weeks down the road when college coaches need to be hired. Moving on, though, we got some more headlines. Monday night, the Raiders absolutely choked in a primetime game versus the Chiefs. At one point, the Raiders were up 17-0 versus the Chiefs, and the Raiders managed to blow that game. Now, the stats on when the Chiefs are down 10 or more points with Patrick Mahomes are ridiculous. Tyler, if you could pull this tweet up from Field Yates here. Field Yates tweeted, following the win last night, the Chiefs are now 12-9 with Patrick Mahomes as their starting quarterback when they faced a 10-point deficit since the start of the 2018 season. It's an insane record. Being down 10 points and coming back and winning is very hard to do in the NFL because we're dealing with professional football players. During that same stretch, all other quarterbacks are 156 and 873 with a .152 win percentage when trailing by 10 points. That is a crazy stat. He said no lead is safe when you're playing KC, and that's true. We've seen it in the past. In the playoffs, in the divisional round, I believe it was 2 years ago in 2020, they were playing the Houston Texans. It was the last time we really saw Deshaun Watson on the football field. The Houston Texans were up 24-0. It looked like the Chiefs were dead in the water, and out of nowhere, they came back, won the game. A week later, they did the same thing versus Tennessee. They've done it time and time again. Listen, Travis Kelce is a key to that offense. He scored 4 touchdowns. Now, there might have been some terrible referee calls in that game, but it went both ways. Yeah. It went both ways. And speaking of the terrible referee calling, Chris Jones of the Chiefs, a call that didn't go the Chiefs' way, he was flagged for maybe the worst roughing the passer call of the year, which is saying a lot because as of late, there's been quite a few. And it was such a bad call because the ref couldn't see it. The ref pretty much admitted that after the game in his kind of interview with the pool members of media that they do or whatever. And Chris Jones hit Derek Carr. And Derek Carr fumbled the football. Chris Jones recovers it while standing and then lands full body weight on Derek Carr because he's trying to recover a football in midair. You can't brace yourself for the ground and not land on Derek Carr. And that flag being thrown there was ridiculous. And that game being played in Kansas City, the fans were not happy. The referees were booed the entire time for the rest of the game. It was kind of hilarious, but towards the end of the game, the Raiders were able to score. They instead of kicking the extra point, the score was 23-30, and then the Raiders scored a touchdown to make it 29. And the trend in the NFL is if you score 2 touchdowns to go for 2. Like if you're down by 2 touchdowns, the trend is if you score 1, go for 2, because if you make it, then if you can score another touchdown and you kick the extra point, you win the game. I've never seen a coach do what Josh McDaniels did, though, when they're down 1 touchdown, go for 2 to try to take the lead. Because, number one, you're playing the Chiefs. You don't want them to be playing aggressive against you because we've seen what happens when they play aggressive. Because, I mean, you were up 17-0 and you're losing right now. So I don't understand going for 2. Kick the extra point, let the game be tied, give your defense a chance, give your offense a chance. And that happened. And as we saw, Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow ran right into each other on a 4th and 1, which was the Raiders' final offensive play. It left Devontae Adams extremely, extremely frustrated, actually to the point where he did this. If we can get the video to play. Where he shoves a worker, a supposedly cameraman. We'll play that back one more time. It's a short video, so we'll play it again. He's walking off the field into the locker room, very frustrated. His head kind of goes down a little bit. Camera guy walks in front of him with a metal pole, gets shoved. Ridiculous. We cannot have that. And it's easy to see that kind of frustration, especially when you see the kind of stats. And when you see this kind of stat right here, where the Raiders had a 150-yard rusher, a 100-yard receiver in Devontae Adams. They had 0 turnovers. They only punted the ball twice. If you heard all of that, you would assume that team won the game. But that's not the case. They're the first team in NFL history to do all those things and lose. Now, Devontae Adams being frustrated is one thing. Doing all those things and losing is another thing. I can understand the frustration, but you cannot do that if you're Devontae Adams. Like, it's just an extremely unprofessional thing to do. I can understand if it's a fan that runs onto the field. This isn't a fan that ran onto the field, though. This is a person working at the game you're playing in. They're an employee of somebody there just like you. You can't be doing that. And I think it was a scumbag move. He said he immediately apologized for it. It felt extremely terrible. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think it's just an awful thing that he did. Do you guys have any thoughts on it? Who wants to go first?
I think he was just doing his job, like the man's like literally doing what he's paid to do, and some guy gets mad at him and pushes him. Kind of a scumbag move, but
yeah,
I guess Kermit the Frog has that effect on people, Shout out Patrick Mahomes, man. That voice is awful. But you're a good football player, so we'll let it slide.
Yeah, I mean, in my realm, like, you would call that losing full, and that's basically he's losing the mental game along with the game. And like when you start losing that mental, everything just falls downhill from there. And yes, it is extremely unprofessional and like just a very open act of just anger. And like honestly, it's such a stupid move because what that tells the other team is like, oh, we've got them on the ropes. Their best players are losing their minds over there. We've got this in the bag. Like you're just giving them confidence by doing that. It nothing about it was a good move. Yeah, the guy was just doing his job. Uh, it was just a stupid happenstance.
I think this is just kind of like a Raiders thing because I don't know what it is about being a a Raider. They're not in Oakland anymore, but they just kind of like push people, dirty play. I don't really know what it is because that's kind of their mantra. What they're known for is just play stuff like that. So I don't know, but Devontae Adams wasn't like that before. So yeah, I don't know.
It's a real problem because like it's just bad. It's just a bad look. It looks bad to your team. It looks bad to kids that look up to you. This is the guy that's like supposedly the best receiver in the league. He's on a team that's 1-4, a team that they're in the one of the tougher divisions in football. Maybe not the toughest record wise, but talent wise, I mean, you could look at talent on paper and be like one of the toughest divisions in football to compete in. And you're playing a division rival, a game you'd like to win. I mean, you probably had to hear Jackson Mahomes and Brittany on the sideline doing TikToks the whole time because they were back. They were back on the sidelines. Nobody's brought that up yet, but they're the two most toxic people of all time. I'm sure that wasn't on his mind, but that was on my mind. That was on my mind just a little bit because I was expecting the Chiefs to lose just because I saw a pregame picture of Jackson and Brittany back down on the field. Haven't seen that all season.
I would have pushed them, honestly. After that,
bingo.
Push Jackson. I would have pushed them.
Push Jackson. But I don't condone any violence to Jackson. I actually don't mind Jackson. He's been growing on me. Not really. That's just that's not really. I can't stand the guy. I've seen enough. I blocked him on TikTok a long time ago, so I haven't had to see anything about him for a long time. But it's easy to be frustrated in that situation, but you gotta remain composed because, like, I'm sure he's thoughts in the back of his mind are like, man, I was with one of the best quarterbacks maybe of all time 1 year ago, and now I'm here with my friend Derek, and we can't win a game against teams they should beat. They had the Chiefs dead to rights. They should have kept. I don't know what happened. It's making like McDaniels look like a bad coach. Like there's a lot of things going wrong. And when you start 1-4, the chances you make the playoffs are extremely small. But in this game, I mentioned that there was some terrible referee work, and that's kind of been the theme of the week so far. Because in the Falcons game and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, you know exactly what I'm going to be talking about here. Jerome Boger's crew pretty much cost the Falcons a chance at a comeback. Grady Jarrett was flagged for roughing the passer on Tom Brady late in the fourth quarter, where Jarrett wrapped up Brady and slammed him to the ground in a spinning fashion, and it was flagged as a brutal hit, a hit that nobody should ever see in the NFL. You can't see a brutal hit like that. This was not that kind of a hit. We actually saw a similar hit in the Chiefs and Raiders game. Actually, it was the exact same thing. Mahomes was sacked in a spinning fashion, same way taken to the ground, no flag. But in this situation, when it happens on a 45-year-old quarterback, there is a flag. Now, Tom Brady was asked about it after the game, and he had this to say.
That play, have you been lobbying or asking for some late hits there?
I do believe we just had an audio issue on that video, so we'll just forget that video. You could read the captions. The guy asked, did anybody else hear that? Okay, so it was just my headphones that had the audio issue. My bad, everybody watching. Brady said he doesn't throw the flags. I'm sure he had no issue with the flag because he, it led to him winning the game. Now, I don't fully believe that the Falcons with Marcus Mariota could have maneuvered a game-winning drive. But that opportunity was taken away from them because Jeff Boger and his crew screwed that up for them. And Boger and his crew have a reputation of doing this. It actually happened last week versus a guy in the room. It happened to his team, the Ravens. On the final drive for the Buffalo Bills, there was a ticky-tack roughing the passer call on Brandon Stevens, a Ravens DB, and it pretty much sealed the game for the Bills because it put the ball right where Tyler Bass pretty much needed it. Then Josh Allen took a few knees, ran out some time, led to Tyler Bass kicking a field goal, beating the Baltimore Ravens. And there's been some other really bad calls, not by Boger's crew, but that have affected games in that sort of a way that it shouldn't be happening. There was it happened to the Chiefs in the Colts game where there was verbal jousting going on between Matt Ryan and Chris Jones. Chris Jones was flagged 15 yards for something that he said. No one said what it was, but it was supposed to be bad enough to get 15 yards, but I don't believe he was fined for it. Colts win the game versus the Chiefs. Boger has screwed up 2 weeks in a row, let two teams win. Maybe Boger's fixing games. I don't know. But Boger said this about his call in the Ravens game, that he had forcible contact to the head or neck area, and he said that he was confident in the call. And then on the Sunday call that happened to Grady Jarrett, he said that what he had was the defender grabbed the quarterback while he was still in the pocket and unnecessarily threw him to the ground. What is he supposed to do? That's how you sack a quarterback. He said that he was confident about that call as well. And it's just ridiculous. Like, don't call the game different because it's a 45-year-old quarterback that decided to come back and play. Call the game fairly. There was a play on Kenny Pickett that happened where Kenny Pickett slid and Hamlin, the safety for the Buffalo Bills, hit him late. No flag. I understand it's a rookie, but if we're going to be calling stuff to keep quarterbacks safe, let's call everything correctly. Now, I was actually okay with the Pickett hit because I love Kenny Pickett. Everybody in here knows that I love Kenny Pickett. Everybody that watches this knows that I love Kenny Pickett. But defenders in the NFL are fully aware to hit Kenny Pickett when he's sliding because we saw in college one of the greatest moves of all time against Wake Forest in the ACC championship game where he pulled a fake slide and then went untouched to the house. So I respected the defender kind of hit Kenny and was like, hey, you're not doing that fake slide stuff here. I don't think Kenny would try that in the NFL, but the safety wanted to make sure that he wasn't. And that safety that hit him, Hamlin, also a Pitt graduate. So he played with Kenny Pickett, so he knows how Pickett is. So
But
you got something to say?
yeah, didn't the rule change in college? It didn't change in the NFL? Because I know like the rule changed like right after that in college. But did nothing happen in the NFL about that?
Yeah, the rule did change in college. I don't think that the NFL thinks that that's going to be a thing. I don't think that the NFL thinks that the fake slide is going to be a thing because, no offense to college defenders, they're not getting paid hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars to be a defensive player. These guys in the NFL will play no games. They're going to hit you regardless. The college defender knows he's going to get ejected if he hits that guy. In the NFL, you're not necessarily going to get ejected. So, I mean, if you hit him, you hit him. You're just going to probably get fined. So, like, and they can pay the fine because it's only like $10,000 when you're making, who knows, minimum $750K probably. So they know they can pay that kind of fine. But it's just very frustrating when the game's not being called fairly and stuff like that. Moving on, though, we're going to get to the Washington Commanders, a team in the NFC East. Their head coach, Ron Rivera, seems to be a little frustrated by his quarterback as they struggled again and lost this week. Rivera was asked why his team was 1-4 in a division where every other team is 4-1. And his answer was extremely simple. He said, it's the quarterback. He then clarified and said, other quarterbacks have been in place longer in this division and were more comfortable with their offenses because they've been in place longer, and Wentz is still getting comfortable. I think he clarified and said that because he was nervous of what he said, because he realized that he just put a bunch of blame on his quarterback. But to be fair, a bunch of blame needs to be put on Carson Wentz as the quarterback, because although Carson Wentz is a very talented quarterback and he's very fun to watch, he can win and lose you games with every throw because he treats every throw like it needs to be deserving of a highlight in the Hall of Fame. And that's just not the case. They've lost a lot. They've lost most of their games strictly due to his poor decision-making. I mean, they lost that Tennessee Titans game because down on the goal line, the play calling was not great, to be fair. He threw a pick to end that thing, but 2 plays prior, there was drop picks. Like the Tennessee Titans could have ended it on 3 straight plays, and on the third one, they did. And I'm curious to see how long Rivera lasts there if he sticks with Carson Wentz, because, like, I don't think this is a team. This is a team with some talent on it. At the wide receiver position, especially, on the defensive line, especially, like, they have some talent. And I think they're going to go more run heavy here with Brian Robinson coming back from injury, not injury, getting shot. Shout out to him for coming back, like, in a very quick amount of time.
He walked out to many men.
The most savage move of all time. It was awesome. That little intro. Place went nuts for him, too. Like, he's a fan favorite already. And, Nate, I'll ask you first. Do you think that if Carson Wentz starts the rest of the year and they don't move on from Carson Wentz at quarterback and try something else, do you think Rivera will be there next year?
It's hard to say. I'm going to be honest. Kind of, I don't know. The Commanders have not been good for a long time. This is what, Rivera's second or third year. It's his third year. And it's not like they've done anything before. So maybe this is the last straw. But if he is putting the blame on the quarterback, I think you might have to talk to your team or talk to your owner, talk to your GM and say, hey, I need a better quarterback because my quarterback is not doing it for me right now. I mean, yes, because I've seen it with Carson Wentz. Like, I mean, Carson Wentz was good in that Eagles run, but I don't think he's taking the Eagles to the Super Bowl. I'm gonna be dead on it. I don't think he's taking them to the Super Bowl if he's leading that team. And Nick Foles eventually got the job done.
He's definitely not taking them to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but definitely
he's terrible. He's terrible.
Yeah. So Carson Wentz, he's not a great quarterback. Very overhyped in my humble opinion. But I think if it's bad enough, because I think you have an excuse of the NFC East is a lot better this year. Cowboys are playing really well, best defense in the league. I would even go that far. You have the Eagles who are undefeated. You have the Giants who are playing well. So you might be able to blame it on the division just becoming better and you just not making many moves. But yeah, I would say Ron Rivera is out probably after this season if he has a horrible, horrible season. What are you gonna say?
I mean, I just wanted to add real quick, like 3 years and you're still not comfortable, I'm sorry, but that's not an acceptable answer in like a professional sport.
This is Wentz's first year there,
Oh,
but it's also his third year on a new team.
oh,
And he's a guy that's getting paid a ridiculous amount of money, and he's doing the things that he's doing. Like, he's throwing a lot of interceptions. Ron Rivera, he's in his third year. Ron Rivera has not had a quarterback, though. And, like, this is a team with some very good talent. Like, and to be fair, that statement being said of the comfortability, Daniel Jones is working in a new offense as well. Let's not pretend like he's the only quarterback in the division trying to get comfortable. Like,
Cooper Rush.
Cooper Rush. Like, I mean, I understand he's been in the Kellen Moore system for a while, right? Because he's been in and out of Dallas. He pretty much kicked Kellen Moore out of the league when he came into the league. That was said on the broadcast on Sunday. And while I did know that, kind of forgot about that. Even more funny now that Cooper Rush is balling for you guys. But
yeah, well, I mean, they were all in the same team, you know. Kellen Moore, Cooper Rush, Dak Prescott, like they were all in the same quarterback room, and so like they built some rapport, but still he's a backup. Like he's never running reps with the first guys.
Yeah.
So he's definitely learning a new system. You said Daniel Jones is learning a new system. Jalen Hurts is a young quarterback. Like this is his second year, right?
Yeah.
Second year in the league, actually running.
I think it's his third year in the league. Second year as a starter.
Yeah, second year as a starter. So he's learning a system too. So I wouldn't put all the blame on the quarterback, but it is Carson Wentz. So yes, I would love to blame him because he's not great. He's a less controversial Baker Mayfield, to put it lightly.
And when you think about like what Rivera was brought in for, like he was brought in to build a culture, and they had a lot of issues when he got there. They were going through a name change, Daniel Snyder stuff, still going through the Daniel Snyder stuff. That's never going to end until Twitter is happy and he's kicked out of the league. And Twitter, I hate to tell you this, you can't kick a billionaire out of a league run by other billionaires because he's the rat. He knows all the information on all the other dirty billionaires and what they've done and said. They don't want to kick him out because they're nervous. So it's never going to happen. And if it does, I'll be shocked. And there's going to be a lot that comes out of it if it does happen, but it won't. But since Rivera was brought in to build a culture, I mean, maybe he's done that. They haven't won games. I think they should turn to Taylor Heineke at some point this season. They drafted Sam Howell. Turn to Sam Howell maybe. Do something else at quarterback. There's something else that can be done at quarterback, I'm sure, in Washington. Heineke played all right last year. He's not getting paid starter money, and he said that actually in the preseason. But I don't think it matters. If he's better, play him. And while Wentz is a very talented quarterback, we've seen it week in and week out, he can keep your team in the game and also put your team out of the game in a very similar light to the way Jameis Winston can do the same thing. Like, decision-making is a real issue, and he just needs to take your checkdowns, play smart, and it's tough for some guys to do that. Speaking of smart, there's been some smart rule changes in the NFL. Can't talk. Good transition. Couldn't even talk. So what's it matter? Yeah, could have been my CTE acting up. Which brings me to the great point. The concussion protocol has been changed. In the new protocol, if a player shows ataxia, which is a term describing impaired balance or coordination caused by damage to the brain or nerves, that player cannot return to play. And it happened this week to the Dolphins with Teddy Bridgewater, and it led to Skylar Thompson having to play the majority of the game versus the Jets, which is what led to the Dolphins probably losing. Skylar Thompson he's not a guy that should be playing quarterback in the NFL. I like him. He's an athlete. Should be playing quarterback in the NFL. Maybe the XFL. Would love to see you in the XFL. Get you and Duck Hodges to the XFL. I'd love to see it. The Rock, get on that immediately. But the previous protocol, if a player passed the test, even if they experienced any visible signs of wobbling while walking or couldn't speak or slurred speech, if they passed the test, they could return to play, which is what happened to Tua. Now, if a player shows ataxia now, they're immediately removed, even if they pass the test, and they're ruled out with a concussion. And when they're ruled out with a concussion, even if they don't have a concussion, they are put in the concussion protocol, which means they have to go through the steps to get out of it, which I'd assume the steps to get out of it, if you don't have a concussion, probably pretty easy. But sometimes it won't show up right away that you have a concussion. Sometimes it'll appear days later. So I think this rule change is good. I'm a firm believer that Tua wasn't concussed in week 2, week 3 against the Bills. I'm a firm believer that he wasn't concussed. I believe Tua that it was a back pain. I can see how that was the case. I won't harp on it any longer, but I like the new rule change. I'm a fan of it, although I'll be intrigued to see how much they follow that in primetime playoff games. If we got a playoff game with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and one of those quarterbacks goes down and gets a little wobbly when they're getting up, are we going to let Case Keenum come in for the Buffalo Bills and play the rest of that game? Are we going to let Chad Henne come in and play the rest of that game? I don't think so. It happened during the COVID year. They pretty much stopped all COVID testing in the playoffs because they didn't want guys out for COVID. They'll find a way around it for playoffs. Like, they'll easily find a way around it for playoffs. But until then, regular season is going to be followed pretty strictly. And moving on to our last headline of this week, and it's my favorite one of all of them because I absolutely love Western Kentucky. It's my uncle's alma mater. They produce good backup NFL quarterbacks in Mike White. They produced another one in Bailey Zappe. But it's starting to look like Bill Belichick might actually stick with Zappe as starting quarterbacks of the Patriots even after Mac Jones is healthy. I don't know if he will. It's very interesting. He had this to say right here. Yeah, I'm not gonna get into a lot of the hypotheticals on all the different things that might or might not happen and all that. That's to me a waste of time. I'm not going to sit around here and dream up scenarios and all that. We'll take things as they come and go from there. That's what Bill Belichick had to say. That was actually him speaking into our microphone. We appreciate that, Bill. Thank you for stopping by. But at one point in Bill Belichick's career, early on as a head coach of New England, he benched Drew Bledsoe, who was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, the first quarterback to get a $100 million contract. He was in year 2 of a 10-year contract. And he got benched for a 6th rounder who happened to be the greatest quarterback of all time in Tom Brady. I'm not saying that Bailey Zappe is that, but they just had a shutout win over the Detroit Lions. Now, the Detroit Lions are the Detroit Lions. They have the worst defense in the NFL, maybe of all time. Bailey Zappe looked good in that game. Bill Belichick could have easily said, no, we're just going to stick with Mac Jones when he comes back healthy. He didn't say that. We'll do what's best for the team. That's what he always says. One day at a time. Day to day. That's what he said about Mac Jones last week. He's probably still saying the same thing. Is he going to do the same thing with 4th-round pick Bailey Zappe and not play 2021 first-round Mac Jones, who is supposed to be and acts like the next Brady? And a lot of people have compared him to Brady. What do you guys think about the Patriots possibly, like, history repeating itself here? I don't think it will, but how do you guys feel about it?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think the argument for Tom Brady being a system quarterback was kind of broken when he went to Tampa Bay. But he kind of was built within a system. He had a great defense most of the time. He had great players at the end of their prime. He had a bunch of basically nameless white slot receivers at his disposal. So Tom Brady had it good for most of his career over in New England. But I don't really know. Like, Zappe's good. Mac Jones is also good. I don't really know exactly if you can bench one for the other. We're gonna have to see more out of Zappe before we kind of make gonna need to see more out of Zappe to make any allegation or what is that's not the right word. Any assumptions, yeah. But also in that Patriots game, you have to forget about the play of Jack Jones. He's playing really, really well for the New England Patriots. He holds a place near and dear to my heart. Arizona State cornerback. Last 2 years of his career in college, but he's been playing really well. But yeah, going back to the Zappe thing, I need to see more out of him before I can make any assumptions.
Yeah, and it's very interesting just because like a lot of people like, especially on like younger kids on TikTok, I've seen the last week or so a lot of weird like videos just comparing the two, Zappe and Brady, and it's like they're like trying to make it a thing. So it's like on the front of my mind, and then Belichick says this, and then Twitter starts talking, and it's like I don't think he's going to do that because I think he thinks he has his next Brady in Mac Jones. Mac Jones acts the part of Brady already, and I think a lot of people compare the two just because they had out of shape white bodies at the combine, and I think that's what Nate was about to say. Like their combine pictures are not flattering, either one of them. And there's a photo of Mac Jones at one point in his career at Alabama where he was in the locker room with a cigar in his mouth, standing next to Tua and Jalen, and he had a beer belly on him, like he out of shape. And a lot of people said that he lost that over the offseason and he came back in healthier this year. He didn't look good when he played though. Like he did play against the Steelers and he did play against the Dolphins. So those were two tougher defenses because he did play the Steelers' TJ Watt defense, not the current defense that gives up, 8,000 points to the Buffalo Bills. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what actually happens in this situation. But we'll move on from the headlines and get to what happened in the week with our teams around the NFL, with our current teams we're following. So we'll start with Tyler and his thoughts on the Baltimore Ravens, a team that is not close to my heart, but I did enjoy watching that Sunday Night Football game.
I think a lot of things are starting to line up for our team defensively. Anyway, it was a good week. Just to start that off, sorry, I kinda just jumped into it without really actually starting it, but,
You brought up a great point about the defense, though.
yes.
I just want to say one thing. It seemed like the defensive coordinator is finally comfortable and said, all right, I'm going to let my athletes do their thing and play. Like, I was expecting Joe Burrow and the Bengals to come in there and rout you guys. Like, and he didn't. They played Joe Burrow perfectly. They said, all right, Joe Burrow, we're going to see. You're supposed to be this next great quarterback. Take your checkdowns and take 4 yards at a time. And Joe couldn't do that. Like, young quarterbacks is tougher for them to do that. We saw Mahomes struggle with it last year. Burrow struggled with it in that game. Lamar is very good. He'll take the yards when he gets them. And the defense, they finally played simple stuff. And with the athletes you have on that defense, like it worked. And it looked really good.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I think a lot of the stuff I was saying earlier on is starting to kind of find its way, figure itself out. Like I said, defensively, we just did not have anything going for us once it hit halftime, really. And in this last game, we really showed that we are still about it. Like we still got it in us to be the Ravens that we know we can be. Um uh but yeah, defensively I think we have been looking really good. Our massive clutch against the Bengals uh this past week was really cool to watch again. Yes, keeping them under 20 points. Amazing achievement against Joe Burrow, honestly, in my opinion. Um Especially with like looking at our past games this season, like I was not expecting that at all. And yeah, again, it was a very entertaining game. Our kicker is looking fine as ever out there. His average is so beautiful.
He's a god.
Yeah,
He's a god amongst men.
if you look at his average, anyone that wants to go look at his average, it's like wherever he like kicks like the most, it's always like center. Like the peaks are always in the center. It's beautiful to see.
So this is a weird thing that I did see on Twitter. There was a guy that tweeted that based on the trajectory of the ball and where the ball crossed the where the ball crossed the field goal bar, it could have been 1 yard wide. He would have hit it. That's how perfect that field goal was, that game winner. And I'm going to pull up a tweet for just stats, and I'll read it here in a second. You can keep talking. Just of like his like game-winning kicks. I mean, he's only missed one kick in his career, like as a go-ahead kick within like the last 2 minutes of the game. He's like 17 of 18 or something like that. He's a god amongst men in the kickers. I love him. What he said after the game was hilarious, though. Like Jordan Stout getting his first game-winning career, like that was hilarious. That was one of the greatest things I've ever heard. Just because I love special teams, but I'll let you get back to it before I pull up these stats.
Yeah, but yeah, our kicker was looking really good, and yeah, that was really funny after the game. I did hear that. One other part that I actually have like that is skeptical still about our team, Lamar Jackson has just been seemingly out of it, like not making the best offensive moves. With our pockets and our receivers only looking better game to game, like getting open, being in the spots they need to be, and Lamar is just not able to get the ball to them, and it leaves the question why and what's going on there. I don't really know what's going on. Um, Maybe tension between Lamar and the Ravens, like people. I don't really know what's going on there, but if we can get if we can get Lamar to start connecting passes and really getting into the flow of things like he was at the beginning of this season, I think we really have a shot at um shooting ahead later on in the season, like immediately basically, because our defense has already showed that it's out here, it's in force, it's ready. Um, and once we get our offense there, I think we're gonna have a really fun rest of the season.
Do you guys think if Lamar is playing at top level, do you think you guys are gonna win the division? Because I know the Bengals are tough. The Browns are only gonna get better with Deshaun. Do you think that the Ravens with Lamar
I
playing?
don't know about that.
What do you mean?
We have a shot.
You guys have a
We
shot?
definitely have a shot. If Lamar really gets into the flow, we have a shot for sure.
I don't know how good Deshaun Watson can be without getting massages from outside the facility.
Speaking of the massage, can we talk about the thing that was going around Twitter about the Giants player on the sideline?
Yeah, I don't know what that was. A lot of people saw that though.
Wait.
Tyler has not seen it, obviously. Guy had his pants pulled halfway down his butt, and New York Giants trainer obviously doesn't get paid enough money. I don't know what happened. Maybe turf burn. Definitely looked like something was going on. Deshaun would like to be on the New York Giants is all I'll say. And we'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave it at that.
Like, I know you play football. Like, is that something like that's normal that you've seen like something like that, or
No.
like we're not mistaking it for anything else? Like,
I have no idea what was going on. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I've seen people like hold up towels and let a guy take a piss on the sidelines. Never have I seen that. Like, so I'm not 100% sure what that was, but
For context, he is from an interesting part of Pennsylvania, so makes
that
sense.
happens everywhere. That happens everywhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that happens everywhere. You get down on like one knee when you got to like pee during the. I mean, you can't run back to the. Sometimes high school locker rooms are very far.
Fair enough.
So like,
or you can do it in the end zone. You know, Ole Miss or Ole Piss as it was called. Shout out to that moment.
that is a good moment. That is a good moment. One of the most disrespectful celebrations in college history, but one of my favorites by far. But back to the Ravens. Oh wait, I got stats. I'll pull up my stats real quick. I gotta pull this down so I can actually see it.
Here, remove the other two slides.
I'll just read them. I'll just read the stats. It's all good.
Oh, okay.
I'll just read the stats. So this is what I was referring to. Michael Lopez tweeted this, and he said, using next-gen stats ball tracking data, Justin Tucker's game-winning field goal crossed the upright with a Y coordinate, which is the width of the field, of 26.52. The exact middle of the field is 26.67 for those counting. That is, if the uprights were half a yard wide, I had it wrong. I said 1 yard. Half a yard wide, the kick would have still been good. He's kicking on an Arena Football League level, like field goal, like just field goal post. If you've ever seen the Arena Football League field goal post, it is tiny. It's tiny. Like That's what he's doing. He has made 61 consecutive field goals in the fourth quarter or overtime. 27 of them have been from 40 yards, and he's now 18 of 18. I disrespected him by saying he had a miss. So disrespectful of me. He's 18 of 18 in his career on field goals within the final minute of regulation or overtime. Never missed. Automatic. He doesn't have any moments, though, in the postseason. Like big moments. I think he's the greatest kicker of all time. Justin Tucker. He doesn't have the moments in the postseason like Adam Vinatieri does, where Adam Vinatieri is kicking field goals to win games and like win Super Bowls and like win massive games. I think Tucker will get that. I don't know when, but he'll get it. He's the greatest kicker of all time. He's by far my favorite, and I hate to say that because he plays in my division, and having the best kicker of all time in your division, playing against you twice a year, when we have like the Steelers have a great kicker, wears number 9 as well, but like he's overlooked just because Tucker's in our division and he also wears the same number. So like nobody cares about Chris Boswell. But I love Justin Tucker. I
just think nobody cares about the Steelers, to be honest with you.
Well, we should not play on prime time ever again. Not at least for a season or 2. We should never play on prime time again. And we're on prime time like 3 more times. I checked the schedule. I'm very frustrated. I won't talk about it yet because I'd like to take a minute and breathe after my Tucker thing because it got me a little excited. And then you mentioned that, and it literally brought my mood way down. Very disappointed right now, Nate, that happened. Not in you, in myself, that I even thought about the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. I actually wore an Alabama sweatshirt just to get a winner's mindset for this episode, just because I was in such a bad spot on Sunday mentally after that Steelers loss. I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. But yeah, Nate, let's hear about your Cowboys. They won a game, right? They won a game. Oh, you're not done? Oh, my bad, Tyler. I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you was done. I cut you off. That's on me. Bad host. I'm a bad host.
Yeah, I've got like one more thing to kind of add. We had one injury, which is Marcus Williams. Huh? Yeah, it was a big injury. He has like a dislocated wrist, I believe. And Marcus Williams being one of, if not our best secondary defender on the field, does not bode well for Lamar Jackson going forward. And yeah, for our entire defense, honestly. It's all really going to come down to this rookie. If this rookie ends up coming and playing before Williams is able to get back.
Kyle Hamilton?
No. He's got a weird last name.
Geno Stone? No. Oh.
I was reading a thing earlier. I'll pull it up.
I was just like looking at their Jalen Armour Davis. Could that be him?
No, it's
okay. I'm just looking at their depth
David
chart.
Ojabo. We might see rookie outside linebacker David Ojabo on the field before Williams' return. So like he may come in for Williams, I guess. I don't really know how that's gonna work.
Yeah, I don't know. I think what they're saying is he'll be healthy, which will be good for the defense. Which he's a pass rusher. That's gonna be great for the defense. But I think Kyle Hamilton, they'll probably move just based on like Chuck Clark's a good safety for you guys. He plays strong safety though. I think they should move him to free safety. I think he can handle it. I think this is where you get the rookie involved, Kyle Hamilton, the guy you drafted in the first round, like a very talented safety. Let him get involved and like shut down the run game because I think he can do that. He's a liability in pass coverage. We saw it in the preseason. He can't cover a white guy that's going to work at Walmart. He showed that in the preseason. That could have just been that play, but it stuck with me ever since. I mean, it was almost as bad as Trevon Diggs getting burned by that tight end, but not to take shots at your guys' team, but like, yeah. Kyle Hamilton could be really good in the run game, though, and I think they should try to transition that defense into something more physical like that while Williams is out. Although Williams could be a liability sometimes in pass coverage, too. I mean, we all know what happened to him, the Minneapolis Miracle. He put his head down. Stephon Diggs walked right into the end zone. Greatest play in Minnesota history. and that was Marcus Williams' rookie year. So I'm sure that haunts him often. But
Yeah, I think Kyle Hamilton's success, it's kind of similar. Like I see Kyle Hamilton as a very similar player to that guy in the Cardinals, Isaiah. What's his name?
Isaiah Simmons.
Isaiah Simmons. Isaiah Simmons came into the NFL and he's like, oh, he can play safety, he can play linebacker, he can play cornerback, he can play all these positions. And you look at Kyle Hamilton, and people were saying the same exact stuff about him as well. He was very talented safety, and I thought he was gonna do great. I think you just have to wait and see. Just going into an NFL system as a player that can kind of do it all. But yeah, it's very good for the Ravens though that they have him. And so I just want to see what he can do by himself and with a different system.
That was about it for me. So now to your Cowboys.
Oh, the Cowboys?
Yeah.
Oh boy, I've been waiting a long time to talk about this, my friend. After we won, yeah, but before I start my segment, I do want to apologize. Last week, or was it last week? It was last week or the week before. I know we have a lot of conservatives that listen to this show. I know we have a lot of people, a lot of Christians that watch this show. They believe a lot of things. I believe it too. But I hate to break it to y'all, but there is more than one. There are more than two genders. I was talking on the show later. One of my friends called me, and he said, "Hey, you forgot about me." It was Micah Parsons, and he's like, "Yeah, I identify as a dog. My pronouns are that guy. So please." So I'm sorry, Micah Parsons. I didn't mean to offend you, but yes, there are three genders. It goes male, female, and dog. Micah Parsons, that guy, he's a dog. Trayvon Diggs, he identifies as that too. Cooper Rush identifies that too. So I just want to apologize to everyone. We might lose some followers, but that's okay. I just want to get the truth out right now.
Bro, I'm dead. I was not expecting that. Oh, you deliver every time, Nate. You deliver. Keep going. You deliver every time.
Yeah, I needed something to start off the segment.
Just come up with that in your head.
No, I came
Oh,
up with that after the game.
I was gonna say that would have been that would have been awesome if you just came up with that on the spot.
No, I'm not that smart, my friend. I have midterms to focus on. My brain is fried right now. But yeah, no. Cowboys, they might have the best defense in the league. You going in the Rams, they run a good defense. Matt Stafford's your quarterback. Cooper Kupp, he's your best wide receiver. He's been playing really well. We've practically shut them down. Besides the one touchdown, kind of like a one-handed grab from Cooper Kupp, the Cowboys pretty much shut them down. Like I remember one drive, it was a negative play for negative yardage, and then I think they gained like 5-10 yards. But they were so far back they didn't get the first down. This Cowboy defense is excellent. This is probably one of the best defenses I've seen from the Cowboys in a while. And this was a quiet week for Cooper Rush, but that's good because during the broadcast, people were saying Dak Prescott's updated to day to day. So I believe that, especially with this big game coming up against the Eagles, where you're going to see Dak Prescott come back, and we're going to be a totally different team. I do love the play that we've been getting from Cooper Rush, but I think with Cooper Rush, we are not beating the Eagles. I love Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is my guy, but I don't think we're beating the Eagles with Cooper Rush. I think we need Dak Prescott back. But I'm so excited for this Sunday. I'm actually more excited for next Tuesday when we finally get onto the podcast. I'm gonna do something special next Tuesday after the Cowboys win, dog walk the Eagles. I'm gonna do something special. So yeah, be prepared. But yes, Cowboys are winning next week against the Eagles. They're gonna show everyone who they are. It's gonna probably be the most important game besides, of course, the Super Bowl. Cowboys lift up the Lombardi. First time since the 90s, proving all the haters wrong. So yeah, stay tuned, my friends.
All right, so you're in the part of the Cowboys fans that believe that Dak Prescott is the guy, correct?
Oh, absolutely. He's a better pass. Like he's not as good of a runner as Lamar Jackson, but he's a better passer. Like he can do both, and I think he's led the team very well, even in his rookie season. He just ran into Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, like with a good defense, Dak Prescott's gonna go far.
Lamar can do both. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, Lamar's good. Lamar's super good.
Lamar's an animal. He's a cheat. He's an actual walking cheat code. It's not fair. It's not fair. What he can do athletically and what he's transitioned to do with his arm. Dak's very good, but
He is a tall Bo Jackson. Like he is on that level of freak athlete. Like where like some of the stuff that happens is like I don't think that's possible for a human to do. Like even the stories about Wilt Chamberlain and Victor Wembanyama, like that's kind of the stuff Lamar Jackson's on. Like he's that good of an athlete. So I'm not even gonna. So yeah, I apologize to Lamar Jackson for even comparing the two. But Dak Prescott's that guy. Like you've seen what a good defense does. It took Blake Bortles to the AFC Championship. Blake freaking Bortles.
and Blake Bortles only didn't go to the Super Bowl because Roger Goodell could not have that for the ratings. Because could you imagine a Super Bowl matchup of Blake Bortles and Nick Foles or Case Keenum?
Oh,
The world would have melted. Nobody would have watched it. It would have been awesome to watch.
oh yeah.
But-
I wanted to see what's his name, the cornerback for the Rams now.
Jalen
Yeah,
Ramsey.
Jalen Ramsey. I wanted to see him in the Super Bowl so bad.
Oh.
He's been one of my favorite players for a long time. It sucks that we picked Zeke over him, even though I love Zeke. And I'm glad we have Zeke. But we kind of pissed him off, and he says he never wants to play for the Cowboys under Jerry Jones. So, but I love Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey's a dog.
All right, so here's an interesting question. That was the same draft you guys drafted. You guys drafted Zeke and Dak, same draft, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. You guys were a team that year. This is just a big potential what if. If you pass on Ezekiel Elliott was key to your success that year.
Mm-hmm.
How was your defense that year? I cannot remember. Not that good though, right?
We were not great, no.
No. What if you guys would have drafted Jalen Ramsey that year? Would Dak because of the run game that Dak looked really well. I wonder that's just a interesting what if. Like, what would Dak's career look like, and what would the Cowboys look like right now if you guys passed on Zeke and took Ramsey?
I honestly think Zeke was good for our success, but we also had a great offensive line back then. So like that's a part of it. I mean, we lost Travis Frederick. So we've lost a lot of guys from that first offensive line that were kind of really made Zeke and Dak. Because Dak had a lot of protection. Zeke had a lot of holes that were opened up and a lot of protection. So he went untouched. So I think some of the struggles that Zeke has been struggling with these past years is due to, his offensive line being hurt a lot of the times, losing all pro people to retirement or injuries, stuff like that. But yeah, I think we're better because we drafted Zeke. Zeke is a really talented running back. We should never have passed on Zeke. I just love Jalen Ramsey. I remember they released a story out of him. I think it was like 16 at the time. Released a story about him in ESPN. I loved him from that moment. Talking about everything he's doing in Jacksonville during the height of their run. So I love Jalen Ramsey, but yeah, I'm glad we didn't select him over Zeke.
Okay, I was just curious when that was brought up because I remember that was a major transition for the Cowboys, and that could have been viewed so differently if you took if that happens. It's a very interesting what if.
But going back to that, you said we didn't have a great defense, and Dak Prescott was playing well. We haven't seen Dak Prescott play well today, but Ezekiel Elliott's playing better this year. He's playing back to prime Zeke. And if you put Dak back in there and he performs well with a great defense, come on, man. I think that they only lost to a last minute field goal by Crosby. That's the only reason they lost. Because Aaron Rodgers is good. You do have too much time on the clock. But with this good defense, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit for the Dallas Cowboys. So stay tuned next Sunday. Game of the week. Sunday Night Football. And then tune in next Tuesday, man. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a blast.
We are holding you to whatever you're saying you're going to do. I'm not going to ask because I'd like to keep it a surprise. I'm very much excited for that. And now I have to kill my own mood and talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not happy. Not at all happy. Last week
That's great news.
I don't know if you guys noticed that the show kind of changed. Steelers went last. Sadly, we can't talk about the Dolphins because Mike is not here. And I honestly watched them for 4 weeks, and kind of was forced to watch them for 4 weeks because I can only watch legally without illegal streams. I can only watch the nationally televised games, and Dolphins were televised for 4 straight weeks nationally. This is the first week I've been able to watch the Steelers game live, not a condensed replay, not like a replay. This is the first time I've been able to watch it live. And last week I said we were going to cover and we were going to win. I predicted it. I said Kenny Pickett was going to ball out. Yeah, I was wrong. That didn't happen. We stood no chance. I knew we stood no chance when opening drive happens. We pinned them down at the 2-yard line, and Gabe Davis and Josh Allen connect on a 98-yard pass. I said, oh, this could be a long day. And then we fumbled the opening kickoff and almost set them up for another touchdown. Luckily, our defense held up, and about the only time in the game they actually held up, and held them to a field goal. And I'm just going to talk about Kenny Pickett because there were some positive things that happened. There's not a whole lot of positive stuff to talk about the Steelers. I mean, fire Matt Canada today. That needs to happen. I'm tired of it. I can't watch this offense for another second. I can't do it. It's frustrating. It's annoying. I'm sick of it. Matt Canada sucks as a play caller. Send him back to college. Just bring in everybody that was at Pitt. Tasir Mack visited the Pittsburgh Steelers today. Kenny Pickett's second best wide receiver that played with him while he was at Pitt outside of Jordan Addison. And he played with Tasir Mack longer. Tasir Mack, obviously, maybe not the greatest receiver of all time because he is currently not on an NFL team. But who knows? He could be a dog if he comes to the Steelers. Listen, Mark Whipple, just bring in the entire Pitt team that was with Kenny Pickett when he was at Pitt because it gives us a better chance. And we're going to be bad, so we're actually going to have the chance to probably actually do that. Yeah. A lot of fans are pissed off about Najee Harris. There's not a whole lot he can do in this vanilla offense that we run. Okay, this is the worst offense I've ever seen in my life. We're actually statistically not as bad as others. We're pretty close, though. In my power rankings, I ranked them 31 only because, there's the Detroit Lions and other teams that do exist. And I think the Detroit Lions are better than us. I think we'd lose to Detroit if we played them right now. But Kenny Pickett had a couple positive things. He showed accuracy. He went through progressions well. He showed that he could find the mismatches and give his receivers opportunities for one-on-ones. He did really well outside the pocket on bootleg play actions. Wasn't really given a lot of help with his offensive line. He felt very antsy when he was in the pocket. But the bad is, like I said, we're awful. We're not a good team. And we have a very grueling schedule coming up. This week we play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't expect us to win that game. Steelers fans are acting like we will, and that'll be Kenny Pickett's first win. We're not going to beat the Buccaneers. I don't care if it's a home game. We're going to get slaughtered. Then we go to Miami. We're not stopping Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. There's no chance. We couldn't stop Gabe Davis. We have no shot. This is frustrating. Because then we go to Philly. We're going to get rocked. We have no shot. We're gonna
Eagles are gonna drop a nuke on you guys.
We're gonna start the season 1-7 probably. If we win, I'm gonna be the most happy person. I will be on. It's gonna be a rough. I know that's why I'm wearing this hoodie because I'm pretty much just I've tapped out on the NFL this year pretty much because I know the Steelers are gonna be bad. Love Kenny Pickett. I'm gonna enjoy to watch the development. I will just pretty much not watch the scoreboard, though, because we're going to get pummeled every single week. Every week.
It's okay, Jared. Venting is cheaper than therapy. So, you need this more than we do. So we'll let you have this time to go vent.
I don't really have anything more to say because I can't. I'm going to get really mad if I keep talking. I'm actually mad. I'm pissed off right now. I can't watch another snap of the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. That's how bad it is. We were so bad versus the New York Jets. When Zach Wilson gritted on us, I almost had an anxiety attack we're just going to get rocked by everybody. If we're going to let Zach Wilson gritty in our end zone and not punch him in the mouth, what is wrong with us? We've gone soft. And then Gabe Davis goes for 98 yards on the fourth play of the game. How can I watch that?
If this is any of you guys' first episode, please go back to the first one of the Barnes and the Boys, whatever this is called. And watch that episode and watch how confident Jared is in that episode, and then come back to now this second where he's falling apart right next to us. Just the natural progression of things is it's very comedic.
I think Jared looks like me in that first episode. Because I was depressed because the Cowboys lost Dak, and then we lost, we lost that game, and I was like, oh, we're not gonna win another game. We beat the Bengals though, so I think we kind of switched places. I think Jared was delusional at the very beginning of the season. I mean, you're believing in either Trubisky or baby hands. That's not a great selection to believe in. But yeah, no, the progression is crazy, man. Yeah, Jared was very confident the first episode, but now I think he needs some therapy. So we're gonna make a GoFundMe page. Pay for Jared's therapy. Link will be in the description below. But please help this man. This man is on the verge of doing things that shouldn't be done. So link down in the description below.
No harm will be done to me or anyone else, I promise. I will say this though. Here's the positive that I did see yesterday. According to the mock drafts for 20 that's how bad I am right now. That's how bad it's gotten. I'm looking at mock drafts for 2023. We are projected to finish second in the NFL, which will get second to last in the NFL, which would give us a second overall pick, which in my lifetime they've never had. Ever. I don't think they've had it. The highest pick that I can remember them having, and I don't remember it, I just remember that they picked Ben Roethlisberger at like 11. That's the highest pick they've had in my lifetime. So that tells you how successful they've been. I mean, in 20, we're one of the most winning organizations in football. Like they don't lose all that often. Well, since the merger at least. This year, that will not be the case. If we pick second, there's some defensive issues that we can fix. Listen, I love Alex Highsmith. He's good. He's a good player. Will Anderson's really good, though. Alabama. That's where my hopes are lying right now. Heading into week 6 of the NFL season is that we can land Will Anderson in the NFL draft. Just so we're clear, I have zero faith. This team sucks.
Should they just try to lose games to maybe get that?
Yes. They should lose every game. They should lose every game. Lose every game. Lose every game from here on out. Win one game. Okay? Get the first or second overall draft pick. If you don't want Will Anderson, trade down. Get 2 first-round draft picks. Take Jordan Addison. Give Kenny Pickett his receiver. Not that we don't need more receivers. But George Pickens and Jordan Addison would be a lethal combo because George Pickens has a way of getting open by just bullying dudes at the line of scrimmage. He did that in the Buffalo game where he took 1 step, 1 yard, knocked a guy 10 yards downfield, and ran a quick slant. Ball didn't get thrown to him because, Kenny Pickett had 0 seconds to throw a football because the offensive line sucks. The play calling sucks. Matt Canada needs to be fired. I can't say it enough. I could draw up better plays for this offense than Matt Canada could. I could. I'm done talking about it. I'm done. Sign Taysir Mack. Bring in Jordan Addison. Hire Mark Whipple to be the offensive coordinator. Just make it Pitt 2.0. Draft Israel Abana, Canada. Ship Najee Harris out of town like the rest of the fans of Pittsburgh want. I guess I can't combine Pittsburgh Steelers and Pittsburgh Panthers because if I say Pittsburgh and I tried to say Steelers, it's just the same team. I'm on the verge of just losing it. If I have to watch, it was so bad. This is a nationally televised game. This happens once a season. If that. The national coverage decided to switch to a more competitive game. That's how bad the game was. They said, and now we're going to switch to a more competitive outing. We will send you to the Cleveland Browns and the Chargers. A slap in the face to any Steelers fans watching it outside of Pittsburgh. And that game was actually good. The Browns were in it versus a very good Chargers team with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. We stand no chance if the Browns are almost beating the Chargers. I mean, we can't win it. We're not going to win a division game outside of the lucky game we got against the Bengals. There's no way. We're going to start 1-7. Then we're going to drop every game after that because we should. That's what I want them to do at this point. Just openly say we're going to lose every game. Just take the fine. Who cares? Draft Will Anderson or trade down, take Jordan Addison and a tackle. Solve our problems immediately. Or I won't. Never mind. I won't say what I was about to say. Let's just move on. Let's just move on so that I can. Yeah, we have a basketball segment with Nate. We'll move on to basketball. Nate, what's going on in the basketball world? Anything good?
Before I get into that, as you can see, midterm stress is getting everybody. Jared especially. So if you have someone
This isn't midterm stress. This is I can't watch another snap.
I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers are creating clinical depression. I mean, what else is new? Antonio Brown. But please, if you know someone in college, give them a hug because this is what happens when you have a bad football team and you are also taking midterm. So please give them a hug. Go pay the GoFundMe in the description below. This man needs some help. But
We are not actually starting a GoFundMe. I think Nate was thinking about actually starting a GoFundMe.
bro, I mean,
I don't need therapy. I am okay. I'm okay. I'm just a little frustrated. That's all.
okay. Wink. Okay. I don't know, man.
Maybe I'm not. We'll find out.
I'm kind of scared, honestly.
We'll find out in the next 3 weeks when we play 3 potential playoff teams and we get wiped. And then play the Saints the week after that and get stomped. And then play probably the Ravens. I don't know who we play after that. Doesn't matter. We're going to get stomped. I mean,
Well, anyway, going to the basketball realm, I think Draymond Green is going through the same stuff. Draymond Green might just be the Pittsburgh Steelers fan because during the Warriors practice, he clocked Jordan Poole. Don't exactly know what was said. Maybe Jordan Poole said he was a triple single. Maybe Jordan Poole said something about football. I don't really know. But in the clip, you see Draymond Green come up to Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole gives him a little shove. Draymond clocks the crap out of Jordan Poole. That man was on the floor. I want to see Draymond versus Jake Paul at this point. That was a good hook.
Draymond would kill him.
Oh yeah, donkey takes one swift kick to the nuts, man. That's the special move, Mortal Kombat. Just one swift kick to the nuts from Draymond Green. But yes, so as always, these people are supposed to apologize. So this is what Draymond had to say this past this was a quote from Draymond Green. I was wrong for my actions that took place on Wednesday, as there's a deep drive into left field by Castellanos, and that will be another RBI. Yeah, that apology was not genuine at all. I feel like Draymond has been creating a rift with the Warriors organization for a while. As you saw with the Kevin Durant saga, where he kind of yelled at him at the bench in the playoffs, and caused Kevin Durant to get traded over to the Brooklyn Nets. I'm pretty sure the Warriors do not want to have another repeat of that with Jordan Poole, especially because that's your young core. I mean, you're going from Steph Curry to Jordan Poole. Like, that's a great turnover, and you don't want to lose that. So I think Draymond Green, this is probably his last season in Golden State. I don't think he's going to be traded this season, but I definitely maybe trade deadline, depending on how the Warriors are doing, or next season, Draymond Green is gone. Draymond Green will get a max contract elsewhere. We'll monitor that situation. But yeah, Draymond Green is creating a rift within the Warriors organization, and he's most likely going to be traded.
I just have one thing to say about Draymond Green. Like, I saw a lot of slander on Twitter of like people like slandering Draymond. Like, Draymond's been extremely important to the success of the Warriors, though, over like this period of time where they've just been championship winning like level. Like, I would say he's second to Steph on the team. Like, at least of last year he was. Like, in level of importance to that team, yes. He has been the cornerstone of their defensive play. Almost 10 years, I feel. Well, not really 10 years, but a long time. Like, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Draymond Green is super, super important to the whole organization. Just like Kevon Looney has been super important, very underrated. Like, he won't be in the Hall of Fame.
He doesn't get the respect he deserves, though.
Absolutely not.
He's a
No.
great first bucket getter if you do make those kind of bets. Not that, I do, but he was a great first bucket getter for the majority of the season, in case anybody was wondering. Don't know if he'll be that this year, but he was last year. So
Again, Jared does need help. Gambling is not the answer. But yeah. But Kevon Looney has been really good.
that's fair.
Well, I mean, gambling is better than other things. So, don't drink, don't do those other stuff, Gambling is better, but not great. But Kevon Looney is very important to that success as well. Draymond Green is probably one of the most important players in that organization, probably besides Steph. Um, I would go as far to say that they're not winning any of the championships they are without Draymond Green. Draymond Green has been a cornerstone for that whole system for a while. You don't have Steve Kerr's system without Draymond Green. He's a big power forward that plays 1 through 5 defensively. Excellent passer, great floor general for the defense and even for the offense sometimes, running it as a point guard. So yes, Draymond Green is vital to their success, and it's going to be sad to see him go. But his antics are creating a rift, and he's probably most likely gone after this season, if not at the trade deadline. I know the Mavericks are interested. That would be great to see him with Luka. Definitely. But we'll see. We'll monitor that situation. He definitely wants to play with Braun.
Those two would kill each other.
Who, Luka?
Luka and you said Draymond?
Yeah, Draymond.
They would kill each other. There's no way those two could coexist.
I don't know, man.
I just don't think they could coexist. Although it would be a great duo.
I mean, winning solves everything. Like,
That's true.
You can deal with a-holes like on a team and still win. Like the Cowboys did it. The playmaker, as much as I love Michael Irving, he's not a great person. And he's not a great person to be around. But winning heals all wounds, essentially. Deion Sanders.
Let's not slander the GOAT.
No. I'm not slandering the GOAT. Like, Deion Sanders is a character. And him and Michael Irving did not get along very well during that Cowboys run. But, they won games, and they were buddies. So winning heals all wounds, no matter how big the ego is, and no matter how antagonistic the other person is. So I would love to see Draymond with Luka. I just hate Luka, so I don't want to see that. I'm sorry. DeAndre Ayton's better.
What'd Luka do to you? Nate?
Huh?
What'd Luka do to you, Nate?
Man,
Hate to bring that up.
give me PTSD, man.
It's okay. I'm living in PTSD right now. So
It took 6 months of therapy, man, to get over that. You need that. But yes, I do not want to. I do not like Luka, but that would be a great duo to watch in the NBA. But moving on. Speaking of a team that I also dislike, the Los Angeles Lakers look like they've took a step in the right direction. I've been watching some of their preseason games. They definitely look like a team that could make a playoff spot, if not even contend for a championship, if I can even go that far. They're not a first-round playoff team. They might be a second, third-round playoff team. They're having great guard play, even with Lonnie Walker. That's an underrated pickup. You have Patrick Beverly. Probably Russell Westbrook is going to be off your bench. Or he will be traded. That saga is ongoing. We'll see where that goes. But the Lakers look like a much better team this year. And hopefully Anthony Davis is healthy. Because if he's not, all the success goes out the window. But I definitely see the Lakers being a much better team than everyone expects this year. But because the team is healthy does not mean that they're amazing. Just because Jamal Murray had a leaked video on Instagram does not make him the GOAT. So you guys got to chill with the Nuggets, man. Everyone's saying, well, Jamal Murray is healthy. Jamal Murray is healthy. Michael Porter Jr. is healthy. All these guys are healthy. You guys should. They're going to be the first. No, they're not. Everyone, stop it. Stop it. Like, that's ridiculous. Yeah, Michael Porter Jr. kind of sucks on defense, and it's not even. He's overrated. He's a great player, overrated, never healthy. Jamal Murray is not making up for all the shortcomings of the rest of the team. So you guys got to chill with the Nuggets. But I'd say Lakers stock goes up. The Nuggets go a little bit up, but yeah, again, they're not the best team in the Western Conference. We gotta chill with that. But that's kind of all I gotta say with basketball. Starts in a couple weeks. I think in 2 weeks. So I'm very excited for the season. And we'll go from there.
That's great. Yeah, I think we talked last week. We said the Clippers. We both feel like the Clippers are the best team in the West.
I would say they're the best team in the West. So probably not during the regular season. Definitely because Kawhi has the load management stuff. But definitely in the playoffs, they're going to be probably the most dangerous team to face in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I'll be a big fan of the Clippers this year. Lakers, I'm a LeBron guy. You know, I think LeBron's the GOAT. So like, we'll have to debate that one day because you immediately jumped. Maybe in a week or two.
Makes me irk, man.
But
We'll have this discussion later because
yeah,
I need to prepare more.
Yeah, we have some ideas in the works for topics for the show, debates and stuff like that we're gonna probably start doing at some point and stuff like that. We were gonna actually do a Halloween candy draft, but since we're not all here, we're not gonna do that tonight because Mike is not here. There's not a lot of golf talk, but I will hit on one little subject for the Live Golf Tour. Some big news dropped today that was very interesting that involved a lot of money. They announced today that Dustin Johnson won the season-long individual title for Live, which gave him $18 million. And he got that $18 million for recording 5 top 10s and 1 win in the 6 tournaments that he played in, which took place in less than 4 months. $18 million in 6 tournaments would not make that money if he won 10 tournaments in the PGA at all. So, like, that tells me Liv will survive for a while without TV. They'll do just fine. That's it. A ridiculous amount of money. But that's all there was to talk about with golf, I think. I'm not a golf guy. But I tried to bring the golf back in this week, even though Micah wasn't here. Hopefully he's here next week. But
honestly, I wish you were here because I have questions I want to ask about that because like 5 top 10s and then 1 win. Is that how inconsistent players are? Like, is there a lot of players that make it to top 10 and that fluctuates highly from like tour to tour? Like, I don't really know how that works.
I get this is my take. I guess he's just been way more consistent than ever. Oh, geez. Had some barbecue earlier and it's coming back to bite me right now. I'll keep that in mind for any day we record. I had this pulled pork and this probably a half a chicken and some fries and good Texas toast. What? Sweet tea. What? It's very good. But it's coming back to bite Tyler now as well. And I would assume that he's just been the most consistent of all the golfers in Live. Like, they don't necessarily have the greatest talent in the world. They just kind of went after the big names that have kind of already peaked. And he's kind of like one of the names that is still kind of closer to his prime than like Phil Mickelson. Phil Mickelson's not in his prime, but a great golfer nonetheless. But
Arizona State alum, got to represent.
Bingo. So I'd assume that is probably part of it. I mean, he didn't have to do a whole lot of work to like really like get that. I mean, that's a ridiculous amount of money he got though. $18 million to like for being like that's pretty much the MVP award of like Live. Like, that's wild to me. 18 million, so much money. But yeah, that's all there really was about golf. Tyler's going to talk about some F1 stuff probably to wrap up the show.
Well, this was an exciting weekend in Japan for F1 with the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka Ring or track, whatever. I don't exactly remember what it's called, but it is the Honda track. A big history for Verstappen because his dad used to drive for Honda's F1 car back when they were contemplating putting one in. So a real big come around because he did win the Japanese Grand Prix and he did claim the drivers' championship for 2022 in Japan with 4 races left on in the season. Yeah. with 4 races left in the season, which he has now entered the upper echelons of F1 drivers to have ever existed, on the level with Sebastian Vettel and Mick Schumacher. And for all of you that know who Mick Schumacher is and Sebastian Vettel and their like vast pedigrees in the history of F1, you know how momentous this occasion is. Max has really showed that he has what it takes and has really shut up the haters that have been dogging on him since 2021 season. Um, Especially with the controversial driver championship last year. Just solidifies his position in the championship, and he's showing that he deserves to be here, and he really showed that in force. Now Max Verstappen did not win by fastest lap. He won the race while Leclerc took a 5-second penalty, which I believe actually gave him fastest. Whereas if Leclerc had his laps stand without the penalty, I believe he would have had fastest lap. Um, a phenomenal job on Perez, the other Red Bull, for putting that pressure on Leclerc the entire drive. I know it was a shorter race because of a lot of the rain and the delay, but it was a masterful race by both the Red Bulls. Now that the championship's over, honestly, a lot of the teams are really just looking, especially Ferrari and Red Bull, are just looking at the constructors championship, which is the team championship, and just working on placements for that. I know a lot of the midfield teams are working on that. McLaren, Alpine, Alfa Romeo, they're all really striving to get those last bit of points that they can get for the season and solidify their position as high as they can get, so they can get that nice cash bonus, if you know what I'm talking about. And Red Bull is now also focusing on making Checo Perez the second place in the drivers championship, so that's another thing to kind of keep your eye on now that Max Verstappen has claimed the drivers championship. If Perez can get up to that second place and keep it till the end, that would be an amazing feat as well. Also another but that was basically all there is to talk about at Japan. Nothing crazy has really happened. That was basically all that happened in Japan. But there was one final little tidbit of information that I didn't get from last race, or I didn't read. But a really interesting note is Checo Perez is the first racer to win in Singapore that is a non-world champion in the world of F1, which is actually a major feat, honestly. Because Singapore, with all of you that know, it is a street track. Lots of corners. I think it has the most corners in any track in the entire F1 roster. And it extremely hard to pass on. With Leclerc putting pressure on Perez the entire race and Perez holding off again. It was a masterful race, very well done. But Red Bull have a masterful team on their hands, and they have the car to back them up. So I honestly believe Red Bull are in for another few very good seasons in F1. But that was just another added note, and that's my segment for this week.
Yeah, that's pretty much all we got for sports. The last thing I wanted to talk about, because I wanted to talk about something more positive to kind of bring my blood pressure and anger back down. I love Spider-Man. My favorite MCU movies are Captain America and Spider-Man. My favorite comic book movies of all time, all Spider-Man movies outside of The Dark Knight. So I'm a big Spider-Man fan. He's trending on Twitter right now, at least in my circle. He's not necessarily trending on the trending top 30 or whatever, but it's being talked about that Spider-Man 4, which we all had a pretty good idea is going to be more of a grounded movie based on the ending of Spider-Man Far From Home. Is that the one? No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home. Got the names backwards.
Is this this fourth one called Spider-Man Homeless? Like, are they gonna stick with the home theme or like what?
I'll be intrigued to see what the theme they decide to go with because I do think it's going to be
Spider-Man Forgotten Home. Because no one remembers him.
Yeah, that's true. Who we talking about? Spider-Man? Not
Yeah.
Who's Peter Parker? We don't know who that is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But who?
What
Who
happened
is
to
that?
his birth certificate's still there, right? Like everything.
No, it was erased.
Who?
That's part of the magic.
Who are you talking about?
Jared is trying to keep up the bit of the movie. But yeah, wasn't the news that he is going to be with Daredevil, the guy, or like at least like have Daredevil in that movie?
Yeah, so supposedly, according to the rumors going around on Twitter, and I hope it's true. Rumors on Twitter tend to not be, but for whatever reason with the MCU, they kind of hit the nail on the head because Marvel movies are written pretty cookie cutter. Getting to the point where it's hard to watch, to be honest with you. I'm watching She-Hulk, and it's very tough. I'll leave it at that. Daredevil was brought into the show, brought in the MCU in this show. Not a fan of the yellow costume. Hope they change that by the time we get the Daredevil Born Again. Hopefully this isn't his permanent costume. Maybe we get the all black costume at some point. Maybe they bring back the all red maybe towards the end of the series. Supposedly that show, Daredevil Born Again, is going to reintroduce the Netflix type version to the MCU, like the Netflix Daredevil type version of the MCU, because it's pretty much the same. It's the same character. It's the same actor. Like, I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to. Kingpin from that show is also going to be in that show. It's going to be very interesting to see. Tyler's got something.
And I have a theory. I'm thinking that if they're integrating the show later on, is the She-Hulk show with him in it and like the old costume, is that a prequel? Like, it's just basically showing him before his Netflix show. It like, and if they're introducing him later,
Yeah. I think I get what you're saying.
like it's basically showing him, and then it like transitions to where the Netflix show is canon and introduces like that version of him and like all the things that have happened in that show, and kind of include all of that into one thing.
But there weren't any green babies in his TV show, were there? Like,
I would hope he was using protection.
I hope so.
Yikes. I wasn't the biggest fan of that move that they did in the show where they pretty much hinted that She-Hulk and Daredevil did things with each other.
The Devil's Tango.
Jeez. But I was not the biggest fan of that. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but
Yeah, just a lot of moving parts there that shouldn't work.
we'll just jump back into the Spider-Man Daredevil type thing. So supposedly the Spider-Man 4 movie we all assumed was going to be a very grounded film. And Kingpin was introduced in the Hawkeye series leading up to Spider-Man, and there was a scene where he pretty much, I didn't watch Hawkeye, for those wondering. Couldn't do it.
Only reason I watched it was for Haley Steinfeld. I'm gonna be dead honest. That was kind of the only reason, but yeah, it was awful.
I'm a Haley Steinfeld fan, and I couldn't get into it.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't get into it. It's a real shame. It's a real shame.
It's a real shame. Let me tell you.
But-
Angelina? What's Florence Pugh? Florence Pugh was in there too. It was okay with them too, but other than that, it was pretty awful.
I just didn't think a Hawkeye show is necessarily like anything anybody asked for. I'm sure it was good. I heard a lot of good things. Kingpin was introduced in that show. And I'm pretty sure the scene was that what happened in front of the tree that kind of happened in Spider-Man where he swung through? From what I remember, those two scenes could have been filmed like at the same time in the MCU. There was something going on at the Christmas tree in New York City at that time. In Hawkeye. Maybe did involve the Kingpin. And Spider-Man's kind of swinging over in his movie. They said that it didn't happen the same day. I feel like could have. I don't know enough about it, so we'll just move on from that part. Kingpin was introduced in the Hawkeye show. He supposedly got killed. He didn't, obviously, because he's going to be in the Daredevil show. And plus, they didn't show him dying. And when
Now
you
that
don't, nobody dies in the MCU.
now that I think about it, I actually did watch the Hawkeye show. I vaguely remember that being like the end of like the last
Well,
season.
it was a post credit scene. It wasn't like
Yeah, that's what it was. It was like yeah. I don't remember like everything because it's been this was during COVID, man.
also
Like, it's
very
hard to remember
very
things.
very forgettable. Honestly, that TV
Very
show.
true. Except for the part with what's her face?
Elena,
Yes.
Florence Pugh.
that plays Black Widow's sister.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't even know her name. I
Yeah.
just call her Yelena.
Yeah.
Don't worry, darling. Yeah, same. We won't get into that movie, but yes, they're all the same actress.
I don't think I know what movie you're referring to, but I don't think we need to discuss it. Referring to.
I don't think we can discuss it on air, for a multitude of reasons, but mainly the main reason was it was awful. But we'll discuss it off air.
Okay, that's fine. We don't need to talk about it. But so it's kind of being like hinted that like we obviously knew the Kingpin, he's showing up. Daredevil showed up in Spider-Man, which tells me they want to make a connection with those two. He shows up in She-Hulk. He then getting his own TV show. The Spider-Man release date's been moved up to 2024. I think, which would take place pretty soon after the Daredevil show's finished completely with their 18 episodes of the first season. So 2 years is a long time for a Spider-Man movie.
Where does the Daredevil TV show line up with the entire timeline of things, or do we know yet?
We do not know. I assume that since it's being called Born Again, they're going to make hints that this is just an alternate version of all these same
After the
characters.
Netflix show, basically.
What'd you say?
Like basically just after the Netflix show, probably.
I'm thinking that they're going to
Loosely.
say that it's just alternate people that look the exact same.
So alternate universes, basically.
Yeah, it's in the MCU. I'm not 100% sure.
The lazy alternate universe excuse.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's too easy not to. So I think that's what they'll do. And Kingpin is a very awesome Spider-Man villain. There's a lot of grounded villains that they could easily do for the Spider-Man movie that are like hired henchmen for Kingpin at that point. And Spider-Man can't take on all these guys by himself.
I mean, just look at Spider-Man Into the Multiverse. Like that brought in a lot.
Yes.
So
yeah. And like Scorpion could be brought in. You could do a lot of things, like tie up a lot of loose ends in the Tom Holland Spider-Man like first trilogy in the
Tom Holland? Who? I'm sorry. I it's not going to mind.
trying to stick with the bit. I got it.
I really need to see Jared Leto come into Spider-Man 4 and say it's Morbin time. Either in that or in Morbius 2, if they have enough money to make that.
They're making it. They're making it.
Is it called It's Morbin time? Wait, they're making another one?
They're making Morbius too.
How?
How? It's so bad.
It bombed in the box office, dude. Like a total of 3 people bought tickets to actually see that movie, and then like the entire internet was just like, "Oh, it's Morbin time."
Well, the whole internet was saying, "Oh, we were all busy that weekend. Release it again in theaters." Like, how do you? It was so bad.
That was a total flop on Sony, and a lot of their movies are total flops. Like they're all like, if you go look at like Sony's track record of good movies, there's not many of them.
Spider-Man movies.
Spider-Man,
basically.
yeah.
That's it.
That's technically a Spider-Man movie. Morbius. That is a Spider-Man villain.
Oh my word.
There's Spider-Man movies that do well, or the Spider-Man movies that the MCU is connected to. And that is pretty much funding all of these other side Spider-Man things that they're just kind of waiting on Andrew Garfield to sign a contract so they can create a different Spider-Verse with Andrew Garfield. But that'll never happen because Andrew Garfield hates Sony because they screwed him over and did not tell him that they were recasting Spider-Man. And there's still a whole beef there, and he will never squash that because he's also like almost 40. So, yeah.
Doesn't look it, but
No, a good-looking dude. Very good-looking
Wait,
dude.
he
He's like,
strange though.
He's pushing 40, or he is 40.
I mean, he's pushing 40.
Yeah,
He's
Dang.
pushing 40.
he doesn't look like it at all.
He
He's,
does.
he's really weird though, from what I've heard, or like what I've seen.
Really? I wouldn't have guessed.
He's like
He's a Hollywood actor.
no, but he's like a weirder. He's like, what's that one dude? He's like the one dude that had like the Crystal Skull vodka. Weird.
Yes, we're all on screen.
Yeah, we're all on screen. I put us all on because it was like a discussion that we could all talk about. Yeah.
Yes.
He's 39.
Yeah, he's basically 40 already. Like when's his birthday? Is it
So he
this-
turns 40 next year on August 20th.
Dang.
Holy crap. That's wild. That's wild.
Still very attractive. I mean, plastic surgery does well.
Yeah, for a dude, good looking dude.
Yeah. He
Good
still
looking
he
dude.
still has the same hair, which
Not digging the beard, but
yeah, I agree. But whatever.
A Spider-Man team-up film though with Daredevil and like Kingpin being in it, like being a villain, and like you can bring in any villain you want to be a henchman technically. My brain just stopped. Scorpion's the one that I want them to bring in big time. They can't bring in Vulture because he's technically in the Morbius universe now.
my word.
I think the way they should do it is like have
Cut that universe off completely. The
Yeah,
Sony universe.
just like just off into the trash. Take Morbin time. Take it out. Just get it out.
I think there's gonna be like a Kane the Conqueror type deal where it's gonna be like he conquers that universe or there's an incursion or something and that universe dies.
He
And so all
morbs the universe.
Huh?
He morbs the universe.
Oh, oh man. That's the only reason like it's Morbin time. Like that's the only way they could save Morbius in that whole franchise. If they say it's Morbin time, we'll be happy. Internet will be happy. Everything will be at peace. But I want to see what's his name? Conan the Conqueror or Conan the Barbarian?
That's a great villain. And
Definitely see him.
Craven the Hunter would be another great one.
Craven the Hunter. The freaking advanced stuff he pulls out in like the show.
That would be really
So
weird.
cool.
I want them to just treat the show like treat this new Spider-Man movie kind of like they treated the 90s animated Spider-Man show.
What they should do, like, okay, they should have Daredevil give Spider-Man, teach Spider-Man some hands, right? Teach him how to fight, right? He has a Spidey sense, so he's basically upgraded Blind Man, right? Like, he can see things that aren't there. Daredevil, he has really good hearing. Upgraded version.
Someone say the greatest hearing of all time.
Yeah.
He's the Michael Jordan of hearing.
Wait, why isn't he called Batman? Like all their names are like because echolocate like their names are horrible.
Batman did that because he was afraid of bats, and he got over his it's a symbolic thing.
But like
He got over his fear by making them fear the Batman.
I think Daredevil's called that because he's just blind. And
Yeah.
you wouldn't expect a blind man to be
Nunchuck wielding, like, insane man that will turn you inside out with hands.
yeah,
Like,
that's true.
who's kind of like he's a hero, but he's not like the cleanest of all heroes.
yeah, he's a vigilante.
He'll mess you up.
It's like what they're trying to make Black Adam out to be. That's a whole other discussion, but
Yeah, let's just pretend that movie doesn't exist.
Yeah, except Black Adam can literally punch jets out of the sky.
As they show in the trailer.
Yeah, just from the trailer alone, bam, and it's just
he seems unstoppable already. It's like I don't really know what they could do with that movie.
okay. DC Universe is so absolutely busted in the amount of like the OP powers of their superhero. The reason, like, if they ever brought Dr. Fate into the DC universe, it'd be over. It'd be over. Like, I'm sorry, he's too OP. Even for the comics, he's too OP. Like, they have to seal him away because he's too OP. He controls fate. He messes with the game masters, which is like mega canon. This is getting really deep into like DC lore. Like he messes with all that stuff. Like he's like an upgraded version of Superman and Shazam morbed into one.
Yeah, and Batman, the only one they can make good movies with, cannot beat a guy that controls fate.
Yeah.
No matter how much prep time you give him. You could give him 10 years of prep time, he can't beat fate. So, yeah. there's not a whole lot to really say about the Spider-Man stuff. I just felt like talking about it a little bit. This has gone off the rails. We're
It's a
about
very interesting topic.
an hour and 45 minutes in. We could literally do a whole like just BS movie podcast like that and talk for hours probably if I had to guess.
I would love
That's something down the road we could look at, but
to be fun.
we'll probably bounce out of here.
Reviews?
We'll probably bounce out of here because this is a very long episode. This is a very long episode. So we appreciate you guys watching and listening. It really means a lot. And loved it. I got the adult Happy Meal for anybody that's noticed that the whole show and I said nothing about it right there. Grimace just hung out the whole episode. He'll be here forever now. He'll just stay there forever. As long as we're doing shows in this room, Grimace will be hanging out right there on the phone. Maybe we'll add some friends. Maybe I go get more Happy Meals. If someone would like to pay for that for me because it was a ridiculously priced meal, I'd rather not say what I paid for that McDonald's.
$17. Like
No. It's like it's expensive. It was a waste of my money.
it's a lot.
$17 for a McDonald's
Yeah, but
meal?
it came with a cool box.
And the crappiest boy I think I've ever seen out of McDonald's. What? Like,
What are you talking about? You don't like
that's
Grimace?
worse than kids meal. That's worse than kids are getting.
Bro, Grimace is awesome, dude. It's a collectible. It's a collectible
Bro, it looks
that
like
I opened up.
No, it looks like some 8-year-old used their dad's crappy 3D printer and was like, "Oh, I can make toys now."
That's actually probably how they made it. They probably what it actually looks like is a 3-year-old child left their Play-Doh out and it dried out. That's kind of what it looks like, and it feels that way as well. It's very solid. I mean, you can hear it. Solid toy, but good episode though. We appreciate you guys watching. We'll bounce out of here. Grimace will be there every week, so keep your eye out for Grimace. Maybe we'll see if we got a friend. If you guys cash at me the money to buy the meal. I don't expect anybody to actually do that because I'm not even going to say what my cash tag is. Maybe I'll drop it in the description to the podcast if you'd like to cash at me. But
For his therapy. You need some help, man.
for my therapy. I will drop my cash app.
You can drop him to the GoFundMe.
Yeah, I'll actually just drop my cash app. I'll pay for the therapy with my cash app if you'd like. And by that, I mean I'll just buy Pizza Hut, which is fair because I'm not going to lose any weight on the current diet that I'm on anyways. But that's a whole nother discussion that we won't discuss on the podcast. We will see you guys next week. Peace.